There is a prison more secure than steel bars, more suffocating than concrete walls, more permanent than any life sentence. It doesn't wear a uniform. It doesn't rattle chains, but it holds more people hostage than any cell ever built. It is the poor mindset, and unless you break free, it will follow you to your grave. You don't need to be born into poverty to be poor. You don't need to starve to have nothing, because poverty isn't just a lack of money. It's a lack of vision. It's a belief, often silent, often inherited, that you are less than what you could be. And that belief is the root of all chains. A poor mindset whispers in the dark. It tells you this is just the way it is. It says that life's not for you. It convinces you to settle for what's in reach instead of stretching for what's possible. It turns your future into a rerun of your past, and it's passed down like a curse from those too afraid to confront it. But listen to me now. No one is born with a poor mindset. It is learned, and anything learned can be unlearned, but only if you are willing to wake up, only if you are willing to step beyond the mental borders drawn by fear and mediocrity. Because nothing external will ever save you until you save the way you think. Mindset is not just a buzzword. It is the steering wheel of your life. Every choice you make, every limit you accept, every opportunity you ignore begins first in the mind. You don't act poor, you think poor, and that thinking becomes habit. That habit becomes identity. That identity becomes your destiny. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." This wasn't just clever phrasing. It was a warning. Because what you believe determines what you attempt, and what you don't attempt becomes the life you never live. Most people never fail. They never even try, because their mindset has already written the ending before the story begins. They say, "I'm not good at that. I wasn't meant for more. People like me don't succeed," and so they don't. But Edison failed over 10,000 times before he succeeded. Not because he was lucky, not because he was a genius, but because his mind was rich with resolve. He knew that the only failure was giving up, and the only poverty was the poverty of imagination. You cannot rise above the limits you accept in your mind. You cannot build a skyscraper with a shack mentality. Your thoughts are the blueprints of your future, and a poor mindset draws blueprints in crayon. Everything changes the day you believe differently, not just intellectually, not with half-hearted affirmations, but when belief sinks deep into your bones, when it becomes the lens through which you see the world. Napoleon Hill taught us that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Not just wish for, not fantasize about, but believe in. The kind of belief that does not flinch when tested. The kind that keeps showing up when the results don't. That kind of belief moves mountains. But a poor mindset, it scoffs at belief. It says, "Don't get your hopes up." It mocks ambition. It drowns faith with fear. And worst of all, it convinces you that your doubt is realism. But realism without vision is just submission in disguise. You weren't born to merely survive. You were born to create, to expand, to influence, to contribute. Yet belief is the gateway, and a poor mindset is the locked door. Your job is to find the key, and that key is decision. You must decide to believe, not when it's easy, not when the odds are stacked in your favor, but when everything looks like it's falling apart. That's when belief matters, because belief is the foundation upon which the fortress of your future will be built. The poor mindset is fog. It clouds your thinking, dulls your senses, distracts your soul. It makes you drift, year after year, without direction, and soon you begin to confuse movement with progress, activity with achievement. But vision, true, burning vision, cuts through the fog like a sword. It is the compass of the successful. Every great person who ever lived had it. Walt Disney saw castles long before he had land. Martin Luther King saw freedom long before the march. Steve Jobs saw the future of computers in his garage. They had the power to see what wasn't and make it real. That is the difference between a rich mind and a poor one. A poor mindset waits to see it before believing it. A powerful mind sees it first and then builds it, brick by brick. Without clarity, the mind decays. It fills with noise, not purpose. And when there is no clear target, every distraction becomes a detour. So the question is, what do you see? Not with your eyes, but with your imagination. Not with your bank account, but with your heart. Because if you cannot see where you want to go, then you will spend your life circling where you are. A vision gives birth to desire. Desire gives birth to action. Action gives birth to change. And change is the enemy of poverty, mental or material. But it all starts with the ability to see something greater than what surrounds you now. You see, the poor mindset avoids pain. It seeks comfort. It waits for motivation. It chases shortcuts, hacks, and miracles. But those who escape the mental trap know the truth. That purpose is stronger than pain. That discipline is the bridge between vision and reality. Discipline is not punishment. It is power. It is the daily declaration that you are not a slave to mood, circumstance, or emotion. It is proof of belief. It is the difference between wishing and becoming. Andrew Carnegie didn't become the richest man in the world by being lucky. He became wealthy because he obsessed over purpose. He turned steel into an empire, but he started as a boy in poverty. He worked, he learned, he believed, and most importantly, he endured. That is the true test of a wealthy mind, not what you do when it's easy, but what you do when it's not, when the lights are off, when no one is cheering, when quitting would be easier than continuing. That is where your destiny is forged, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows of consistent, unseen effort. The poor mindset waits for inspiration. The powerful mind becomes unshakable through repetition. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not loud, but it is undefeated. And once you master it, once you learn to act in alignment with your purpose instead of your comfort, the chains begin to crack. Ideas are cheap. Wishes are everywhere. But action is rare. The poor mindset waits for the right time. It waits for the perfect plan, the perfect circumstances, the perfect feeling. But perfection is the disguise of procrastination. And those who wait remain. Do you think Thomas Edison waited for the perfect lab to begin his experiments? Do you think Oprah waited for approval before speaking her truth on live television? Do you think Elon Musk waited until everyone believed in him before launching rockets into the sky? Number. They acted. They moved. They stumbled forward, bled forward, broke forward. They understood that motion is power and inertia is death. The mind that is poor creates illusions. It says, I'll start tomorrow. I just need more time. I need to learn more first. But the rich mind starts anyway. It learns on the move. It adapts under pressure. It sharpens its sword in the fire, not in the safety of thought. Every empire began with one step. Every fortune began with one risk. Every legacy began with one terrifying leap. So what are you waiting for? The world does not owe you clarity. You earn clarity by walking through the fog. You earn certainty by committing before you feel ready. Action breeds momentum. Momentum breeds results, and results breed belief. You do not become confident first and act second. You act first, and confidence is the reward. The mind that stays idle begins to rot, because dreams, like muscles, atrophy without motion. But when you move, when you do, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the limits that once defined you. The poor mindset sees only lack. It scans the world like a radar looking for what's missing. It notices the flaws. It counts the failures. It focuses on the gap instead of the gain. This is not just a mindset. It's a habit of scarcity. It believes there's never enough. Not enough time, not enough talent, not enough money, opportunity, love, support. And what you focus on multiplies. But gratitude, true, sincere gratitude, rewires the brain. It's not just spiritual fluff. It's a mental discipline, a weapon against poverty thinking. Because when you become grateful for what you have, you unlock the power to receive more. Not out of desperation, but from a place of abundance. Carnegie gave away more money than most people will ever make, because he understood something most people never will. You don't hoard wealth, you circulate it. And you don't receive more in life by clinging. You receive more by expanding. A poor mindset grips, a rich mindset flows. Gratitude is not passive. It is not a smile and a shrug. It is a state of war against victimhood. It says, I choose to see what's working. I choose to build on what I have. I choose to feed what's strong, not what's missing. Because if you can't be grateful now, you won't be grateful then. Riches do not fix scarcity. They amplify it. And when you carry poverty in your mind, you'll always find a way to feel poor, no matter how much you acquire. So look around, not with longing, but with reverence. Start with what's in your hands. Use what you have. Celebrate what's right. And from there, you rise. Life will not hand you the blueprint. It will not roll out the red carpet. It will test you. It will bend you. It will break the pieces of you that are weak, so that what remains is real. And if you are not adaptable, you are disposable. The poor mindset fears change. It resists uncertainty. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is killing it. It would rather repeat pain than risk possibility. But evolution is the law of progress. Those who adapt rise. Those who don't rust. Resilience is not just endurance. It is flexibility under pressure. It is the ability to transform pain into power. It is the art of rising differently than you fell. Abraham Lincoln lost more elections than he won. He buried children. He battled depression. And yet he rose, not despite the storm, but because of it. You are not defined by what happens to you. You are defined by what you do with what happens to you. A rich mindset does not ask, why me? It asks, what now? You see, setbacks are not signs to stop. They are signals to sharpen. And if you are willing to learn, to shift, to evolve, there is no loss that can hold you. Because your roots are not in circumstance. They are in character. The mindset that grows cannot be trapped, because even when life changes the rules, it rewrites its own. The poor mindset says, it's over. The rich mindset says, it's just beginning. And every single time you choose resilience over retreat, you shatter another link in the chain of limitation. The mind that grows wins. Not overnight, not without pain, but inevitably. The poor mindset fears growth because it exposes what you don't know. It clings to what's familiar, even when that familiarity is costing you your future. It says, I already know that. I've tried before. I'm not the learning type. But these are not truths. They are tombstones. Markers for the moment someone gave up becoming more. Every successful soul, every builder of dreams, was once ignorant. Andrew Carnegie knew nothing of industry when he arrived from Scotland, but he learned. Walt Disney wasn't born a visionary. He studied art, failure, and human emotion. Oprah was told she was unfit for television, but she learned her voice, and then she owned it. Learning is the real gold mine, not just facts, but awareness, self-awareness, strategic awareness, emotional awareness, because life will not pay you based on what you want. It will pay you based on what you understand and how well you use it. The poor mindset believes that intelligence is fixed. The rich mindset sees the mind as a muscle. It grows when challenged. It sharpens under stress. It evolves through pressure. If you are not willing to learn, you are silently choosing to stay small. Because ignorance is not a curse until it becomes willful. Then it becomes a cell, a quiet coffin built of pride and laziness. Study your craft. Study yourself. Study those who came before you. Study what works and why it works, because the more you learn, the less you fear, and the less you fear, the more you attempt. When Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, he was teaching more than wealth. He was teaching power, and power begins with understanding. But understanding requires the humility to admit, I don't know everything. I can grow. I can change. I can become more than I am. That single shift is the rebirth of a mind. A poor mindset identifies with limitation. It says, this is just who I am. But identity is not static. It is sculpted, not by fate, but by choice. Every thought is a chisel, every action a hammer, and what you repeatedly do becomes who you believe yourself to be. Your identity is not written in your DNA. It is written in your daily decisions. You were not born weak. You were trained to be. You were told to be. And the tragedy? You believed it. But belief can be rewritten. Identity can be rebuilt. And destiny can be reclaimed. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Not what do I want to do, but who? Because doing flows from being. And until your identity shifts, your reality cannot. The poor mindset sees success as something others do. It says, they're different. They had help. They were lucky. But that's a lie told by those who stopped trying. Lincoln was born in a one-room log cabin. Carnegie grew up barefoot. Oprah was abused and cast aside. Yet all of them decided who they were. They declared it, then became it. The moment you stop letting your past dictate your present, the moment you stop letting your family, your neighborhood, your education, your failures, your pain define your worth, you begin to reclaim your mind. You do not rise because of what the world gives you. You rise because of what you claim within. The rich mindset says, I am the author now. And from that declaration, life begins to bend. There will be days where the voices return, days where the fog returns, where the weight of the world screams, it's too much, you're not enough. And that is when you choose, will you shrink or will you climb? Understand this. Every voice of doubt, every whisper of defeat, every storm of insecurity is a test, a gatekeeper. It does not want to destroy you. It wants to know, are you serious? Because you can't cheat greatness. You can't fake discipline. You can't rent belief. You own it, or you don't. And if you want to escape the mental poverty that holds most people back, you must be willing to outlast every excuse, to outwork every doubt, to outgrow every limitation. This world does not respond to need. It responds to decision. It responds to energy. It responds to those who show up every single day, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. You cannot wait for life to crown you. You must claim it. You must demand it, not from the world, but from yourself. Because the moment you decide, fully without hesitation, that the old story is over, that the chains are broken, that the excuses are dead, that the vision is real, you are no longer poor, not in mindset, not in spirit, not in destiny. A poor mindset will keep you trapped for life, but only if you let it. You were not made to crawl. You were not made to wish. You were made to build, to become, to ignite. You are the spark. You are the architect. You are the storm. So burn the old identity. Sharpen your vision. Fortify your belief. Move with discipline. Give with gratitude. Adapt with grace. Learn with fire. And rise with everything you've got. Because the world is not waiting for your permission. It is waiting for your decision. And that decision to break free, to reject the poverty of the mind, to rewrite the story. That decision begins now, not tomorrow, not next year. Now go build the life that once lived only in your mind, because that life is not a fantasy, it's a mirror, and it's waiting for you to step into it.